Hello, guys, and welcome to the first episode of Nerdy Niche. And this is where I'll be talking about comic book deep dives, a bunch of list type stuff like top five, maybe, I don't know, and more of them to come. But since this is our first video, I feel like it would be very good to talk about the origins of comic book companies. So let's get started off with Image. And did you know that Image was built or founded by a bunch of Marvel superstars like Todd McFarlane, who worked on Spider Man before Spawn, Rob Liefeld, who can't draw feet, but he can draw covers, and he went on to work on Youngblood. Jim Lee, who also worked on X Men, went to work on Wildcats. And Jim Valentino, an artist who is known for his runs with Guardians of the Galaxy, went on to help co create The Walking Dead with Robert Kirkman. But before they were invincible, they had help by another company publishing their comic books for their first year, and that was Malibu Comics. Now, I've already talked about them in the past. They've worked on like the Ultraverse and Men in Black with one of their companies they owned at the time. But they were sort of like publisher of records. They were just helping Image publish stuff out and helping them get up with distribution. Now, the backer for Malibu was a man named, let me find it, Scott Mitchell Rosenberg. And he was a VP for Marvel, and it wasn't really connected with Marvel until it went defunct because Marvel bought out Malibu Comics. Because some people believe it's because they had the digital coloring that Marvel wanted, and there are also people who believe that they just didn't want DC to buy them and have a huge part of the market. So, I guess even though they were trying to leave Marvel, the people behind Image just couldn't. Maybe that's why they had the comic kill Marvel. Now, since I've already talked about Marvel, and I do have a Marvel tied fact, let's take a little break from that and talk about the other American comic book publisher that everyone loves and adores, except for their movies, DC. And let me just ask you a question. Who do you think is Detective Comics' first superhero that's in their trinity? Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. Now I'll let you think about that for a second, because the question has an answer you might not expect. Now let's break it down with the origin of DC. It was founded by a man called Malcolm Willard Nicholson. He was a pulp fiction magazine publisher who moved into comic books. He actually created the first American comic book, More Fun Comics, or Fun Comics, underneath National Allied Periodicals Publishings. And that was the company that started Action Comics and started Superman with Jerry Siegel and, all that. And then later down the line, they also acquired All American Comics underneath the National Allied. And All American Comics was the one that created Wonder Woman, and also had Matt Gaines, the founder of EC, heavily tied to it before going off to create EC. But let's get back to DC. So, around the time they started working on the Detective Comics series, National Allied started having a little bit of money problems. And so ultimately they had to create a new company. One of the partners with Nicholson ultimately replaced Nicholson with the new head of National Allied and DC, Jack Leibowitz. And underneath the company they founded was Detective Comics. So that means that the first superhero that Detective Comics created in the Trinity wasn't National Allies or Action Comics Superman, and it wasn't All Sensational Comics Wonder Woman. It was Detective Comics Batman. I know, not really that big of a deal, but I just find it a little interesting. But then, let's go on to the final fact of the video. Did you know that Marvel and Archie are technically siblings? Hear me out. Because I already mentioned pulp magazines. They were the comic books before comic books. It was like cheap novelizations with some art. printed out en masse. Now, before Stan Lee was the man behind Marvel, his cousin by marriage, Martin Goodman, was the brains and founder of Timely Comics, Atlas Comics, and then Marvel. But before that, he was a pulp fiction publisher who created the likes of Marvel's science stories. Yeah, right. Real cool. And like Kazar. But he got his hands out working underneath a person called Louis Silvercut. And this person helped him like get into publishing. And after their first gig ultimately went under, the two partnered up and started making pulp fiction magazines together. Now, if you're a fan of Archie Comics, you might have recognized that name as one of the co-founders of Archie Comics, were MLJ at the time. And Archie was created, or MLJ was created in 1939, the same year that Comics, the first name for Marvel Comics, was created as well. Now, that's the end of the 3 fun facts I got for y'all. Let me know if you liked it, what I can do to make it better, or if you have any other topics, fun facts that you would like to hear about, or maybe even share, let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe if not. But have a good one. Keep nerding out.